Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Darren, and today I'm going to be doing a keybinding video for PvP. I kind of just want to do a keybinding video to kill the rest of the keybinding videos, because I get questions from my macros, my bursts, my keybinds, every single patch, and I kind of just want to make one to kind of just like answer everything when it comes to PvP keybinding. Having good PvP keybinds or keybinds that are accessible in PvP will also improve your PvE playstyle. So if you're somebody who wants to get better at PvP and wants to learn better PvP keybinds, this video is going to give you as many helpful tips as possible. To preface all this, I have a program running on OBS, which can only record at 30 FPS because OBS just finicky. Whatever footage it tries to spit out is really messy and hard to edit on Sony Vegas. So I'm kind of just gonna have to do this in one go, and that's basically gonna be the video. So I do apologize for 30 FPS and like cuts, or as little cuts as possible. But let's talk about keybinds. First of all, there's no bad way to keybind, as you should be keybinding whatever is comfortable for you. Your keybinds will probably be different from everyone else's, so you'll have to decide how you want to keybind your character. So first of all, you want to decide how do you want to move. What's going to be your mobility keybinds? Do you want to move with Q, W, E, A, S, and D like me to have full range of motion, which can be used in PvE or PvP to kind of like accurate yourself? And like, let's say there's fire patch here, but you want to kind of be into the boss who's in the middle of it. You kind of want to move out of it, but it'll stay in the melee range as close as possible. So for PvE, that's awesome, especially as a melee, trying to, you know, edge yourself in whatever space is possible. A lot of you guys, if you're having like struggles with keybinds and want to find new keybinds, this is where you can kind of compensate on the mobility. You can use Q, W, and E to move. Q would be strafe left, E would be strafe right, W would move, so then A, S, and D are abilities. Or you can do a weird different method where W is forward, A is strafe left, D is strafe right, and then Q, E, and S are abilities. It's really up to you. If you want to limit yourself to a mobility playstyle, all up to you. I decided to use a full range of motion. So what I'm going to do is find the laziest and the most comfortable keys that I can use around my mobility keys. Whether you're playing a caster or a melee, you want to find a capability where you can move and deal damage. Like for example, if I go start running circles around train dummies, I want to be able to use all of my abilities whenever I need to and have full free range of motion. No matter the situation, I can run circles around the enemy and use all my abilities without having to stop. That's kind of the point for your keybinds. You want to find something, especially for PvP, that you can use where you can kind of just do all the different PvP things, like move around, line up CC, line up ability, line up burst, and have as much free motion as possible. So if somebody who, let's say, is a frost mage and you can't strafe to the left and cast ice lance at the same time, that's a problem. You should probably find a different keybind where you can strafe comfortably to any direction and cast ice lance at an enemy, because ice lance procs happen and you gotta, kind of gotta use them for the burst. You gotta use them for the damage. I would say do the laziest method possible when it comes to keybinds. Like for me, I decided to go 1 through 4. That's my basic abilities. You have my saber slash, slice and dice, or I guess roll the bones. In this game, I'm running slice and dice right now. Mark for death, pistol shot, abilities I use in PvP all the time. And then 5 feels comfortable to press, but nothing comfortable to spam. 4 I can spam for literally ever. 1 I can spam, 2 and 3 while moving around. 5 feels a little bit weird. 5 I feel comfortable when I'm running to the side in Hinder 5 or forward in Hinder 5. Strafing in Hinder 5 feels a little weird, so I just don't even bind as basic abilities. I bind 5 as one of the cooldowns, but not as basic abilities. It's comfortable to press, but nothing comfortable where I can move and use my abilities. So what I go for, 1 through 4, R. R feels comfortable. That's my run through, and most eviscerates or any other abilities for any classes. Then Shift R is usually my stun, because that feels comfortable. I just add a shift key. 5 feels weird, but T doesn't feel weird. T feels kind of comfortable. Not something I would spam, but something once in a while. But I'm more comfortable with 5. I can use T when I'm doing basically anything. So I feel comfortable. I use T, Shift T as well, because all you add is a shift modifier to it. My fingers are pretty long to reach T, and I feel comfortable hitting T. Then it comes to my burst and trinket. I decided to put my burst and trinket. My burst is on the middle mouse button. Same thing to go with my honorable medallion or gladiator medallion. As soon as I get into arena. With that one, I just hit Shift T. That feels so quick for me, so comfortable. I can just Shift T. I get hit by C, Shift T. I'm on my way. So that's the reason why I decided to do middle mouse for burst and trinket. Just feels a lot quicker. My right hand feels quicker for some reason, so I actually utilize my mouse a lot, not just, right click, left clicking and targeting enemies. Next to my abilities, we have my heal. This is my heal for just about every single class. If I'm a caster, right? Let me just swap over to a caster. The reason I have it on Shift F is because it feels comfortable where I can spam it. I can just take my fingers off of W and spam it. If I'm on my rogue, I just hold down, left click or right click to move forward, hit Shift F real quick to pop my Crimson Vial or jump pop Crimson Vial. And that's how I got my heal. But if it's a caster, it feels very comfortable for me to take my fingers off of W key. That's to move forward. And I just pop some heals. I stand still. Then F would be like class-based abilities, like on my priest is Dispel, on my rogue it's Stealth. So that one kind of feels comfortable to press, but not comfortable enough to spam. So now you talked about my ability. You have 1 through 4, R, T, and F, and you can see on the OBS recording just how close they are to my mobility key. They feel so comfortable to press. My defensives, F1, F2. My fingers feel long enough to press these abilities, but not long enough to keep spamming them as part of my rotation. It's hard to hold down W and spam F1 or F2, like it just feels weird. My fingers just don't know where to go, where to place themselves. So then F1 through F4, that's all my abilities. Then it goes to my second bar. I have my kick, because hitting a scroll wheel up on my right hand, I found a lot quicker. For some of you, maybe hitting like T or Z and X or whatever the hell you want to do, that might feel more comfortable for you, but that's what I have for my kick. Then I have Shift scroll wheel down for blind. Normally I would have Shift scroll wheel up for kick, Shift scroll wheel down for blind. Normally I'd have a shift modifier for all these. My Naga mouse actually broke. What happened was these scroll wheel up and down. If I were to scroll wheel up, it would just sporadically start scrolling down while I'm scrolling up. So it's like both of them are active at the same time. So looking through a page and trying to scroll through it was a goddamn nightmare. So then I started having my kick as scroll wheel up. And then if I have utilities or CC, shift down. So I feel like I have to press shift so that I'm committing to an ability. So especially something like a trinket, you don't want to just blow it out of nowhere. So you got to commit to it. So you add that shift in there. Make sure that you're committing. Shift space for utilities that I barely ever use. For my hunter, for example, would be pet sack. If I ever need to have a pet sack on me. Barely ever use it unless I need to pet sack friendly or myself. 5 is usually my artifact weapon no matter what class I'm playing. So 5, unless I'm subtlety, where that would be my kidney shot. Then Shift E is my mobility. No matter what class I'm on, that's my mobility. Because I can hold down W, Shift E, or as an Outlaw Rogue, I would have Grappling Hook on that. As a Shaman, I would have my Ghost Wolf on that if I were to play Shaman. As a Warrior, I'd probably do my Heroic Leap. My Charge would probably be part of my R, maybe. Because I feel like that's just part of my basic rotation. Charge in, you Colossus Smash, you Mortal Strike. But Charge is part of your rotation. That's how it kind of feels to me. 1, nothing here. Here, basic ability, my stun, utility, cooldown, heal, and then I forgot what this does. I'm pretty sure it's a PvP ability. It's like hunter only. Beastmaster doesn't have a lot of utilities for me to check out. And then Shift 2 or Alt 2 and Alt 1 are a little bit weird. Let me swap over to my Outlaw Rogue. But Alt 2 is another one of those keys for abilities I almost never use. That's normally my ambush for my Outlaw, because I barely ever use it unless I'm doing PvE, or if somebody is so stun DR'd and have a stealth opener, I might as well ambush them, I guess. In some cases even better for me to just saber slash at them, but that's what I use. And then Shift and Alt 1 is my feint. The biggest two keybinds I have right here is while I can move, Shift E and Alt 1 have been designed just like the rest of my rotation to be all about being able to move and execute abilities whenever I need them. So with that in mind, the whole mobility aspect and being able to execute abilities whenever you need on the move, those two have been designed with that. Shift E and Alt 1 became comfortable for me. You also notice that so far I haven't used Control 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. For me, Control is really uncomfortable to press. I didn't play a lot of FPS. In most cases when I play FPS, I use C to crouch and I use a toggle. So for me, Control is really awkward and weird to use. It puts strain on my finger. Shift is fine, Alt is fine. Control is weird. So I just don't even use it. I just use the laziest method possible. Yeah, Control, I could teach my fingers to do it, but it doesn't feel comfortable, so I'm not gonna do it. Now the rest of it is really my stuff. My oh shit button, vanish. Alt, scroll wheel down. I can do it just as fast as I can kick, blind, and Alt wheel down. That's basically what I have for a lot of my other characters, except for my Shadow Priest. I don't have an oh shit button. That'll be dispersion on F1. So I have my Shadow form, I would have like Boomkin form on here. Just if I ever need to switch out of forms. Because this is almost like a you switch your scenario kind of button. And I try to think of them as I'll talk about in a second, the methodology behind the keybinds. But that's my overshift button. One, abilities I barely use, but it's part of my burst for tricks of trade, so I use it once in a while. Or if I'm in a PvE situation, need tricks of tank. Sprint, so I can have mobility whenever needed. AoE is usually better used for other classes that need like hands-on AoE, like Assassination Rogue trying to catch a stealthy out with Phantom Knives. But for Outlaw, just Blade Flurry. I had to basically teach myself how to use this one. This one was very uncomfortable to use, but I taught myself how to use it properly. And then we have on the side Naga 2 for Focus Gouge, Naga 3 for Focus Blind, and then this is my sap macro, so I can look for stealthies. On the side I have Shift 2, 3, and 4. Shift 2 and 3 and 4 feel comfortable, but not something I would press regularly. So I would have my Ghost Strike in there, my Racial on Shift 3, my Gouge and Shift, or Shift 4 is my Racial, Shift 3 is my Gouge, usually on the target that I'm looking at. That's really about it, I think. And I have my mounts on N+, N12 and N11, Naga 12, Naga 11. So that's really about it. But one of the things that you will see is, for the most part, I try to kind of keep my macro or keep my keybinds loose. I don't try to really specify it to Rogue in particular. I used to, but then I started specifying them for just in general rotation. 1 through 4 and R are my basic abilities. Shift R is my stun if I have a stun or some big CC. It'll be Polymorph for Mage and a Fear for Warlock, because those guys don't have a stun, not unless you're talented to one. Then T and Shift T are usually like utilities. Mouse in the middle mouse button, that's my burst. Shift middle mouse button is a trinket for everybody. Shift F is a heal. F is usually some kind of a class based ability, some kind of utility for just for the class, so I can, you know, kind of change what abilities I would use in the order. So Shift is very comfortable, or F is very comfortable and to press in the middle of abilities, I guess. And then I have my F1 through 4 as my defensives, no matter what class I play. Then kick is always a interrupt. Shift down is usually a CC if I have one. Shift space is for abilities I barely ever use. 5 is usually a artifact weapon. Shift E is my mobility. Shift 2 I barely ever use. Shift A or Alt A is usually defensive, but I only found this binding really good for rogues. None of the other classes really have anything like as good as that. Like, I guess as a priest I can fade if I'm disc and I get like 10% damage reduction for fading. And none of the other classes really have any kind of mechanic like that. Just rogues. And then on the bottom, you know, all down, all that. And again, I try to make these macros, as you can see. Just take a look at all my abilities, and if I apply them to another class, like for example, let's say I want to go with my Demon Hunter, and I'm like, wow, it's so many abilities as Demon Hunter. I have no idea what I want to put things on. Boom, so many abilities, and it's like, okay, well, let's break it down. Let's say I run a Demon Hunter build, or I don't know, Fellblade. My basic abilities, Fellblade, I use it quite often. Air Strike, use it quite often. Blade Dance, use it quite often. I-Beam, kind of use it for AoE-ish, but quite often, because just about everything AoEs and single targets as a Demon Hunter. Throw Glaze, kind of use it quite often. Chaos Nova, that's my stun. Utility, Rain from Above, I have space for that. Fell Barrage, I guess I have space for that too, so Shift T for that. Please don't hit me. My Burst, Metamorphosis, whenever I need it. Trinket, same spot. Nemesis just felt... Demon Hunters don't have a heal, so sometimes I put abilities that I would almost never use. That's really why I decided to go for Nemesis. Vengeful Retreat is like a Demon Hunter only mechanic, the Vengeful Retreat back. So I stuck it there. Defenses, Blur, Darkness, if I ever use Netherwalk, and then usually Hellstone. I used to have F4 as an actual defensive for a lot of abilities, but ever since the Legion Prune, that's basically where my Hellstone sits in most cases. My Kick, my CC, some weird ability I barely ever use, my Artifact Weapon, Mobility, and then Alt 2 almost never use, Alt 1 kind of use but not really. It doesn't quite work like a feint, so I barely ever get to press it. But in Demon Hunter, you'll see I don't have an Alt down, I don't have my macros for 7, 4, 1, just simply because it doesn't have that many binds. Yeah, that's really all I got. Alright, so that's basically how I would use my mobility keybinds. And kind of how I would bind for PvP. As long as you can stay mobile and do all the different things you need to do in order to kill your target. Yeah, that's probably the best way of going about it. Hopefully this video was helpful. I kind of had to do it in one take because my Vegas is going to complain the fact that I'm even using anything by OBS, but kind of just wanted to make a key binding video just to end all the key binding videos as best as I could. My key binding method works for literally every single class, even healers. casters, melee, tanks, whatever. So maybe this will kind of work for you no matter who you are. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see all of you in the next video.